Good afternoon and welcome to this regular meeting of the Education and Neighborhoods Committee. This is Wednesday, August 11th, 2010, and it is now 3:40 p.m. And we are ready to get underway. We'll be taking general public comment after the discussion of our specific agenda items. If you would like to provide public comment on anything that's on the agenda today, please fill out one of these cards and you'll be heard during the discussion of that agenda item. If you would like to provide public comment about an issue that's within our jurisdiction but not on the agenda, also fill out a card and just indicate general public comment, and that public comment will be heard at the conclusion of our agenda items. So we will proceed with items 1 and 2, and we'll hear them together first. So, Mr. Powell, if you could introduce those items, please.
Item number 1 is consideration of an application to name a community Koreatown. Item number 2 is consideration of an application to name a community Little Bangladesh.
All right, and on those two matters, I'd like to ask the CLA staff and CD4 staff to come forward, as well as the representatives of the applicants, please. And I think Mr. Labange is going to be joining us personally shortly. He should be on his way, but in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and hear from Mr. Lee, if you would like to proceed.
Three people. What, the Korean community first, or right?
Little Bangladesh next.
Yeah. That would be fine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Korean, Mr. Chair. I come here before you. I was here last April on a different environment. Today we come in a festive mood. It's been a long process, 17 months since we put in the application. Since then, we had come before you in April, and we had then concerned communities, specifically Latino Coalition, and we had subsequently had a few meetings with them and resolved the issues that was before us. Through this process, it was a very humbling experience and also learning experience for our community and for myself. And at the end of the day, I'm happy to report that we have learned to coexist, be collaborative, and also, found the, mutual understanding between the communities and the surrounding neighborhoods of the proposed Koreatown boundaries. That for the record, the papers that you see before you, the letters, support letters that you see before you, will indicate all surrounding communities are supporting our latest revised proposed boundary. Okay. Can we get that? I'd like to show you our boundary map that's been revised several times over. As you can see, obviously the blue line was what we had originally proposed. Then the erased line up to Beverly was the one I brought to you, presented to you in April. Now the new red line is the new proposed boundary that is, everybody's happy with that boundary. So I'm not going to belabor the point, and I think you have all the documents before you. So that, again, I'm very excited and happy to be here to have a chance to work with the different communities. And also, for the record, I'd like to indicate that on 3rd Street, along with our Koreatown boundary, there's a Bangladesh corridor that's being proposed on 3rd Street between New Hampshire and Alexandria, and our community fully supports the Little Bangladesh corridor along 3rd Street within Koreatown.
Thank you.
Councilmember Korean and Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak. It's great to see you again. It was, as Mr. Lee has indicated, it has been my humble experience and working with other coalitions and other communities representatives throughout the process. I met a great friend like Machib, and we had an opportunity to work with other communities and more intensely with other communities, and heard their voice, and made there's many good friends, and here we are here today, and I think in very positive environment, and we're supporting each other and supporting Bangladesh community and a Bangladesh community supporting Korean community, and Latino community also supporting Korean community. I think we made a very, very strong coalition, and communications and dialogues going back and forth, and especially with city council member. And thank you very much for your support, and thank you very much for your patience, and giving us an opportunity to speak, and giving us an opportunity to be heard. So it has been my great experience, and thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Grace Yu, and I'm the Executive Director at the Korean American Coalition. And on behalf of the Korean American community, we are delighted to be able to present the Koreatown boundaries as Olympic to the south, Vermont to the east, western all the way up from Olympic to Rosewood, and then the northern boundary, except for western from Beverly or from 3rd to Rosewood, it would be the 3rd Street as the northern boundary. So they did understand, while talking with the various communities within the area, the importance and significance of Western Boulevard up to that corner was understood and heard, and so we're happy that people were able to listen and hear each other's concerns and come to an agreement that made the most sense for the vast majority of us. Of course, we'd love to say it was 100%, but there's probably never 100%, but more than 99% of the people agreed. And so we present before you boundaries that is supported by all of our respective council members. So thank you again.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, you do have a letter before you that was submitted by myself, as a committee chair for the Koreatown Boundary Chair, that describes, I think, 7 line items that fully describes what we're proposing, what we're supporting, and so on. So, do we need to go line item by item, or do you? Is that what you have there before you is good enough?
Thank you, Mr. Lee. The letter that you described has 7 points in it. All of those 7 points would not be part of the recommendations of this committee, because many of them would be outside of the jurisdiction of this committee. The boundaries will be part of our recommendation.
Okay.
And then I think as long as we have this in the record that seems to be agreed to by all parties concerned, I think you have the outline here of the agreement that the communities will be relying upon going forward. But the boundary issues will be what will go forward to the council from this committee as part of our recommendation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, I want to thank all of you and for your leadership and your very hard work. I know this has been a grueling process in trying to come to consensus, and I really admire the patience that you've demonstrated and the coalition building atmosphere and environment that you've created as part of this discussion with the Bangladeshi community and others in the area to try to come to a consensus solution. And I really applaud you for what appears, by all accounts, and we'll be hearing from others in a moment, but by all accounts seems to have evolved into a consensus. So I applaud all of you for that. If I may, I'd like to have the Little Bangladesh committee representatives come up now, and then we'll hear from city staff as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all. If you don't mind leaving it, you can just leave it there. That would be perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Mohammad Akhtar Hussain Mia. I am the applicant of the Little Bangladesh. Over 700 Bangladeshis signed the petition with us for this project. First, I thank very sincerely Tom Laban, Councilman, and Nikki Azhari, Deputy District Directors, for helping us always throughout the naming process of Little Bangladesh. Bangladesh is around 15,000 miles away from the great city of Los Angeles. There are almost 46,500 Bangladeshi Americans that live in Los Angeles city. Among those, most concentration is in the Koreatown, Wilshire district, around 30 street. Our culture centers, grocery stores, restaurants, business, place of worship, and language weekend school, all are located in this area. This is also common hangout place of our people. The naming is extremely important for our community that would give us an honor of identity in the wonderful city. I ask again the Honorable Chair and the community to please grant the naming of Little Bangladesh in the designated area as agreed with other communities. Therefore, we hope the Little Bangladesh sign will be posted on 3rd Street very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, Mr. Paul Koreatown. Good afternoon, and a council member. My name is Mohammed Hussein. We were here last time also that on the 13th of April about the boundary naming for the Little Bangladesh. So we have met again here. So we are very pleased to hear from Mr. Changli that we working with the other community, with the Korean community and Latino community and the Salvadorian, and we don't have no problem with them. So hopefully this time he's going to be naming to Little Bangladesh in this area, and it is an important day for Bangladeshis living in Los Angeles. Indeed, it is a great day for all of us living in California to have a section of the city designated as a Little Bangladesh. On behalf of my fellow Bangladeshis, I'd like to express our thanks to Committee Chairman and Council Member, Mr. Paul Koreatown, Chairman, and also our thanks and gratitude is going to go to Mr. Tom Lawange and Nikki Azhari, Deputy Council, and their whole staff. We have been, we were working like almost like 2 years, like a year and 1 year and 8 months almost. So thank you very much for these things and their support. We'd like to extend our special thanks and gratitude to Dr. Chang Lee and Chair of Korean American Federation of Los Angeles. We hope the Koreans and Bangladeshi will be able to live in peace and harmony, everlasting friendship in the same neighborhoods. Little Bangladesh will be inspire us to contribute to the ethnic diversity of the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chairman Koreatown and fellow residents of the city of Los Angeles. Today is a great day in these chambers, for today is a day that another community, 2 communities, knock on our doors, beckoning us to come into the fold, taking their place among the numerous communities already recognized on our streets. The more individual communities that share this badge of honor, the stronger our great city becomes. We're weaving the network of cultural fabric that knitted together makes us all stronger. A oneness comes about when we all share that which we are, that which we give each other. A pride comes when we're recognized for that contribution. The Bangladeshi community now feels they're part of this great city, as well as the Korean community, and petitions to be recognized for their unique contributions to that network. They come bearing gifts to enrich each and every one of our lives. The Bengali cuisine is indisputably one of the world-class foods, rich in spices and taste. A country known for its lack of communal strife and religious freedom, they align closely with our history and our beliefs. A peaceful people, they contribute as one of the lowest crime rates in the city. Rich in cultural heritage in literature, music, and poetry, they contribute to our educational system. Needless to say, their beautiful fabrics and fashion paint our streets with colorful people art. They're a beautiful race of people that have much to offer as they come before you to ask their place in this incredible city. When the signage goes up on our streets, when these boundaries that we work so hard for go into place. When we're reaching skyward, we can all look up and feel a sense of pride that we've grown the kind of city people from all parts of the world want to be a part of. After all, by recognizing and embracing each community equally, Los Angeles takes its place as the quintessential American city.
Thank you. And by the way, since we're broadcasting, can you please state your name too?
Yes, my name is Linda Lockwood, and I respectfully submit this on behalf of the Bangladeshi community of Los Angeles.
Thank you.
My name is Mujib Siddiqui. Honorable Chair Paul Koreatown, on April 13th when we came here, I believe you heard the testimony and you have asked us to work on certain issues and for the, I think you wanted some reports from the agencies. As regards Little Bangladesh proposition from Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, there was an opposition. And on record, I believe it was withdrawn, and you have it in your file, that, and rather, there is a support. And as regards the working together, you have seen the testimony of the Latino people also last time. And we have worked together in cleaning the street, enjoying the food festivals, enjoying having cultural programs together, playing with the disabled, Latino communities, and cleaning the street, removing graffitis. So many things going on in this under the leadership of Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, Wilshire Center, I believe I saw my friend here, Mike Russell, and Iona Hang, a great leader, Chang Lee. So the community union is there, Your Honor. As regards the Bangladesh naming, though, there is one issue I want to say. In some of the communique from Korean communities, I believe a corridor word was used, maybe in the resolution as well, and we have sent our amendment for the record. So Mr. Lee also today told at the end of his speech, he's in favor of Little Bangladesh. So the name, when it will be named, we propose that the name should be Little Bangladesh, as we applied for, and as you know, we have reduced it significantly, maybe less than 1,000 times less than what we asked for. And we will ask that this will be resolved today, and we look forward to your decision, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, present community leaders from the Bangladesh community and Korean community, especially Mr. Dr. Chang Lee. I really respect the effort he made all these years, and our leaders, Mujib Siddiqui, Mominul Bachu, Shamim, and everybody else. And again, I am Engineer Jalil Khan from Caltrans, from the next door, my office, anyway. And I just want to start with this, that as everybody mentioned, Bangladesh community diligently working with many levels. Even during the election of the president, we worked with other leaders, Anthony Verregosa, all the congresswomen, Loretta Sanchez, Linda Sanchez, Judy Chu, even the Speaker Nancy Pelosi was in town, and we went there too. So we are visible everywhere. So today is our appeal that we need some recognition, as Mujib Siddiqui mentioned, that we have reduced our boundaries. It's not about the boundary, it's about the recognition, if it is even symbolic, so that as Mominul Bachu mentioned earlier, that people come from all over the world and look for the community. They have a cultural barrier, language barrier. They cannot speak sometimes. So if they know Little Bangladesh, they come there, they get the help. And as Los Angeles is the diverse cities, Mr. Chair, you have said many times, Honorable Mayor mentioned, and everybody mentioned, this is a diverse community. And we are today appealing as a diverse community that we get a little space here. That really says a lot. As you know, that the Bangladesh also comes from the Bengali language, and the Bengali language is the 6th largest spoken language in the world. even Mother Teresa spoke in the same language. And as you know, that many states, United States, they got the cultural recognition. As my son's teacher in Whitney High is one of the best schools in California, says that you guys are culturally rich, means you know a lot of languages, and that makes the America great and make everybody great. So the reason is this, so we get a recognition, and that's how we fit into this society, and we'll be really grateful. And also to mention here that we have 150 Bangladeshi engineers working in Caltrans only and other agencies. So we are building America, we're moving California, we're doing the mobility of the California. So I thank you everybody here, and thank you very much, and we really appreciate all the hard work that everybody does. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. I think from what we've heard today, both from the Korean community and the Bangladeshi community, it really is, it demonstrates what it is about Los Angeles that makes this city unlike any other place on planet Earth. We are the most diverse population of any major city in the world. We have the largest population of more diasporan communities than any place else in the world. And to have us come together and celebrate our diversity while still recognizing our differences, I think is one of the things that makes this a very special place. So I again want to reiterate how appreciative I am, and I think our entire city is, of the work that all of you have done together to try to find a solution that will work for all of the affected communities, and I really appreciate your work. And I especially also want to acknowledge Councilmember LaBonge and his staff for shepherding this through over the long haul, because it's a very, very trying process. And it was with a very, very good result. So, and I think the council member will be here to speak in a moment. But if I can, thank you all very much. What I'd like to do now is ask Mr. Powell to, from the perspective of the CLA's office, what, if you can give an overview, please, of what the process is for community renaming. If you can give that overview, please. And then I'd like to have verification that that process has in fact been completed. And then I'd like to hear CD4's position on this as well before we move forward.
Sure, Councilman. Darrell Powell with the CLA's office. Back in January 31st of 2006, the City Council adopted a policy relative to the naming of communities. That policy involved advocates seeking a naming of a community, submitting an application with a petition with including up to 500 signatures if the population was over 2,500. These two applicants have done that, and also also the completed application is then circulated to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, Department of Transportation, City Planning, CRA, Board of Public Works, Bureau of Engineering for notification and review. To date, the Bureau of Engineering, as well as the City Clerk's Office Records Management Division, have reviewed the applications. And for Koreatown, the Bureau of Engineering notes that there has been reference to Koreatown in their records, but the boundaries have differed. In terms of Bangladesh, the records indicate there has not been a Bangladesh in our prior council files, which don't really make a big difference during this process. But when the policy was being developed, they wanted to make sure if there was any historical significance when you looked at renaming it, that was taken into consideration. So that's not an issue. As part of the process, the application for naming is to be forwarded to neighborhood councils and their subject areas for consideration. In this instance, I know that the applications were forwarded to the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council and they heard them, and they approved both the boundaries for both Little Bangladesh as well as Koreatown. And there's a mutual support for the proposed boundaries for Koreatown and Little Bangladesh. I would also like to note that following our last meeting, it appears that the advocates of these naming applications have complied with the recommendation of the committee of April 13th, 2010, and that Councilmember Tom LaBonge and staff from CD4 and 10 assisted the advocates of the Koreatown naming application to conduct 5 meetings and to receive input from the Koreatown Boundary Committee, Latino Coalition, Little Bangladesh Community, Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, Pico Union Neighborhood Council, Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, and Beverly Kingsley Homeowners Association concerning the identification of Koreatown's boundaries. So it appears that, not appears, the applications do meet the city's community renaming policy.
Thank you very much. Now, if I may ask, just because we have limited seats and mics, if I could have 2 representatives of the Little Bangladesh Committee, 2 representatives of the Koreatown Committee to come forward as representatives of the applicants, and then I'd like to ask CD4's views on this project. So if you could come forward, please, and thank you. We have one more. If I could just ask for Councilmember LaBonge's position of support on the proposal as it's been presented today.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Koreatown. Tom will be here shortly. He is in Transportation Committee. But as you have heard, we have been working on this project for well over 18 months with both the Bangladesh and the Korean communities. And I would also like to add that the last committee meeting, what you asked for was more outreach because we had a lot of opposition from the Latino communities. And I would like to note that as you see, we have the members of the Latino Coalition and El Salvadorian Coalition here with their letters of support. And this has really been a team effort, and it really has brought all these communities together. It used to be that what was commonly known as Koreatown. We would have cleanups and neighborhood council events and park events, and it was solely a Korean population that would attend these events. And now we're seeing more and more the Bangladeshis are involved, the Latinos are involved. We are in constant communication with one another. It really is a happy ending to a very long journey. And I would love to hear from the Latino communities if it's okay with you.
We'll be taking public comment on this matter next. So that we're clear, just want to make sure Councilmember LaBonge is in support of the proposal as it's been presented here today.
Yes, he is.
All right. And I want to tell you, and I want to say, now that you're at the microphone, I again want to say how important this moment is. And I think for just the reason that you just articulated. This is about, this proposal that's before us today and that will be recommended to council is really about more than just naming. It's about more than putting up signs. This is about bringing communities together and finding what they have in common, working together towards a common objective, and hopefully that will be a relationship that bears benefits for all of the affected communities for many, many years, many generations to come, well beyond the limitations of this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and congratulations. And with that, I'd like to invite the public to come up and speak on this matter before we go back to take action on this. So, and I think many of the speakers that I'm going to call out have already spoken. You may speak again if you'd like, but or not. I will leave it to you. So first we have Brad Lee.
Well, since I have already spoken, I'll speak very briefly. It is a historical moment, and you will be recognized. And Korean American community, on behalf of the Korean American community, thank you very much for chairing this event and giving us an opportunity to speak and giving us an opportunity to work with other communities. And it has been tremendous experience for our community and the community members. And we thank you so much. And we do have a history of more than 100 years of Korean immigrants to the United States, and also, everywhere you look up, Koreatown is just Los Angeles Koreatown is just recognized as a Koreatown. We do have many Koreatowns around the world, but then this has been recognized as the Koreatown, and finally being recognized by its own city means a lot to us. And we really thank you for your hard work, and also Nikki, being with us and trying to mediate between the communities and the differences. Really thank you very much for all the work that you have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. The next speaker is Shah Alam, followed by Majid, and I'm sorry if I don't get all the names right, but followed by Majid Siddiqui.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that?
Yeah, sure.
correct? So,
Shah Alam.
Mr. Shah Alam.
Good afternoon. Honorable Councilman Mr. Paul Gregorian and the respectable members of the council, city council, and all other guests here who are present. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my feeling. That is a joyous feeling with the attendees, that I'm very happy to hear this decision passed by Mr. Paul Gregorian, that these two communities living in the neighborhood now working together and coming to a great point where these communities will be living in peace and in harmony with each other forever. I thank you. I appreciate it. And once again, I applaud everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Honorable Chair, I will be very brief. From our community and from the entire Los Angeles community, if we don't thank Nikki for the wonderful, wonderful job, patience, so much of time, and this is wonderful. I call her, these two projects are her own projects. And also to Honorable Councilmember Tom LaBonge, he did a great job to bring this community together. And the friendship today we have, I hope we will be able to endure it for the time to come. And our generation also will be having the same experiences in peace. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Our next speaker is Grace Yu, if you'd like to speak again, and Francisco Rivera. Thank you, Ms. Yu. Next speaker is Francisco Rivera, followed by Oscar Dominguez.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon, members, of the Education and Neighborhood Committee. This is a privilege, to be participated in this historical moment. This is indeed a happy day for Los Angeles. There is two communities, that are recognized, not to talk about, what Koreatown represents, that is a model community. Is just fantastic, how in 30 years, all the transformation that they had. And also we were very happy, for the Little Bangladesh. Me, as an applicant of the historical Little Central America town, I hope that would be next. We're very happy for you that this has happened, but also we will be coming the Salvadoran Community Corridor. And I want to congratulate Nikki Esrahi from the staff of Councilmember Tom LaBonge good job in bringing all of us together, and I hope that, well, we'll continue, have others to talk. Thank you so much, council members. Indeed, you'll be historically remembered for this.
Thank you very much. And we've now been joined by Councilmember Labange, and Mr. Labange, just for the sake of the record, I think that's now the 4th or 5th round of applause that Nikki has gotten. So I just for the sake of the record, just so you know, it's been duly noted. And Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate your work in all neighborhoods of Los Angeles, and especially on this. I'm proud of the whole community. I'm proud of the Korean American community where they first came to Los Angeles at Jefferson and Vermont at one shop right near USC. And as they all worked hard to see the American dream, they rose to prominence in the Olympic corridor, then the Wilshire Center corridor, and throughout the greater Wilshire area, the Wilshire Center area, Koreatown area. That is a great story. Another great story is all the people from Little Bangladesh. I happen to, and it's a personal thing, love life stories, as you do. And the life story, as we grew, all of us growing up at the time, knew of the challenges of Bangladesh as its independence came. The concert for Bangladesh, the late, great George Harrison, it was the first concert ever done by a rock artist to help anyone, which set the tone. And just that gave me the encouragement. And just that, too, with George Harrison, who lived in Los Angeles and went to heaven from Los Angeles, I felt in a variety of ways to have this sub-area out of a greater area. It would give great recognition to over 15,000 people who live within a short blocks of that, mixed with others. And everyone has a name in Los Angeles. You just got to go through the process to get it up on a street light. They went through the process, and I will tell you this story. In working with the Korean American community, Chung Lee, I said, okay, these two parties were not working it out. Let's have a walk. And I said, give me 5 Korean leaders at the southeast corner of Vermont and 3rd Street. And then I said, give me 5 leaders from the Bangladesh community. As it happened, I show up, I greet the 5 community leaders from the Korean community, no problem. And then I turned to greet the 35 leaders of the Bangladeshi community, because they heard the 5, but they threw a 3 in front of it. We all walked down the street. We saw what was possible. We work with a variety of communities, including the El Salvadorian community, the Latino community, as well as anyone who is there. And we will continue to work to give everyone the recognition that is important, because it does inspire people. I look at street signs, I look at historic markers. I get inspired when I read of what Mulholland did, and it's in a marker. I get inspired at the 1 Mile tree on Western Canyon in Griffith Park. You know why they call it the 1 Mile tree? It's 1 mile from Los Feliz Boulevard. And the Women's Club of 1915 put it there. It's still there today if we drove right now. God bless it. I hope no one takes it for scrap and try to get the 20 cents they would get from it. But it's there. So someone's going to see these signs, whether it's Koreatown or whether it's Little Bangladesh, or in the future, whatever it may be chosen for other communities as well, and be inspired to contribute. So I thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for your great work.
Thank you.
And look forward to bringing this to council.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And there was a fair amount of discussion before you got here, and it will continue for the rest of this meeting, I'm sure, about the leadership that you've shown in an extraordinarily challenging situation to try to bring communities together. And it's really been because of your leadership and your staff's hard work that you've been able to bring these communities together. And as I mentioned a moment ago, not just for purposes of identifying communities, not just for purposes of putting up signs to identify their boundaries, but for ongoing relationship building that hopefully will benefit all of these communities for generations to come. That, I think, is in large measure due to the leadership that you've shown in helping them to come together around common purpose. And so congratulations on tremendous, tremendous work.
Thank you. I also want to thank, let's give a shout out to Mr. Garcetti, because half of 3rd Street is in Mr. Garcetti's district. We work together. Give a hand to Mr. Garcetti and the great work that he does.
right. Our next speaker is Oscar Dominguez, followed by Raul Claras. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman of this wonderful committee. It's Councilmember Tom Lavange. As you well know, Mr. Tom Lavange, put us together to work with the Korean community. I'm the president of El Salvador Community Corridor, which is on Vermont Boulevard between 11 and Adams. And we've been working with the Koreans community to learn, how to work together and at the same time recognize our communities. I think from the Korean community, now they know who are the Salvadorian community and what we're trying to accomplish. So, also we start working with the Latino Coalition. And the Latino Coalition, have done a wonderful job to reach all the communities. And nowadays, even in this newspaper, we have, recognized what's happening with the Korean town nowadays. And we actually are so happy to know that this committee, soon, it's going to recognize Korean town in Little Bangladesh. So we hope that in the next meeting that we're going to be here, you guys can recognize El Salvador Community Corridor at the same time. And we'll invite everybody this Friday at City Council. We're going to be having a resolution also at City Council this Friday, so everybody can come and join us and support us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Raul Claras, followed by Dr. Zainul Abedin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the great work from Nikki, Councilman Tom Labange. I'd also like to acknowledge Michael Bai from Herb Wesson's office for his extensive work also to facilitate. And I think the way that this was approached is the ideal way for council offices to facilitate discussions between three communities. I know today 2 of them are being recognized, like Oscar mentioned. Tomorrow, Friday, the Salvadoran community will be recognized in City Hall with a resolution. But today we're here to recognize Mahib and his leadership with the Bangladesh community. I had the fortune to coach his nephew in high school baseball, so I'm very familiar with the Bangladesh community. The first 21 years of my life, I was born and raised in Koreatown, Pico Union, so I understand the beauty of this culture, and to be able to have the community leaders sit at a table and work this thing out. And I also want to applaud Mr. Chang Lee. I believe he deserves a big round of applause from everybody. Mr. Lee had to be very flexible in this process. He was getting it from all different angles, from his community, from our community, the Bangladesh community, and all others. The Latino Coalition, for the record, is supporting the new proposed Bangladesh and Koreatown boundaries. The Latino Coalition represents the Salvadorian, Central American, and Mexican American communities that are living and reside and represent the majority of the residents in the Westlake and Pico Union area and the surrounding South LA communities. So on behalf of the Latino Coalition, I congratulate both communities and all the city council members that made this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Abedin, followed by Linda Lockwood, who spoke so eloquently a moment ago. Dr. Abedin.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. I came to speak today for the Little Bangladesh. Also, I came to support the Koreatown proposal today adopted here. And we have a lot to learn from Koreans. They are a large community compared to us. We are a little, but we like to share a little with them, and we learn a lot. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. This is a historic day for all the Bangladeshis across the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The next speaker is Linda Lockwood, followed by Muhammad Mia.
Tom, I want to personally thank you. You've taken a very, very difficult situation in this city, and you've made it come together and made it a very, very positive thing for all of us. You know, I was involved in the riots in putting the city back together after the largest insurrection that this country's ever seen. So this is the opposite end of the spectrum. And this is due in a large part to, I believe, your leadership. When I called you, you listened to me and you heard my heart. And you involved yourself personally and your staff, and you brought this about. You worked with these community leaders. I know Nikki was there, and I know she did the footwork and the hard work to put this together. And I just want to say, it's this kind of leadership that brings this city into the fore. This is why it's a great American city, because we can all participate and we can all share and we can all get together and make it great and keep it great. So we never, ever have to see again the things that we saw happen to this city.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mohammed Shamim Hussein, followed by Jalil Khan.
Good afternoon again, Chairperson Mr. Koreatown, and Tom Lavange, and Nick as other council member. Thank you very much for my second chance to say something about the charter over Little Bangladesh. We heard about your support, Mr. Tom Lavange and Mr. Paul. It's not a sign that we hang at the top. Now, since we have been working last 18 months with Nikki, with the Tom Lavange and Korean committee, Mr. Chang Lee, it was a fun and it was hard work. The thing is that when you put the name, the Little Bangladesh and Koreatown, we bring the people all together. Now we working together. We just clean the street. We going to Mr. Chang Lee who's come to our culture programs. So it's we working now more closely, more friendly. We are working together as a family. So which is very good to put the naming over there. Again, from behalf of Bangladesh community, I thank you very much for these events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jalil Khan, followed by Ishtar Kisti.
I just want to say one thing, that it's like any positive study, like we work in Caltrans and project comes and, it's a feasibility study, then the PSNE, then the bidding, and all I can say that this great man here, Tom Lavange, honorable councilman, I want to thank him. I want to thank again Nikki. I know they did a tremendous job, and he's bonding, bracing, and building. Finally, he's building it. So he's a great leader, and we want him to see in future going up, and we really admire. And we want to thank him. That's all I want to say today, and all the community leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
When I read the Los Angeles Times and its reportings about City Hall, they always talk about the rancor and what's the disagreements amongst what's the council people and everything that's going on in the city. But I think the LA Times is not telling us the whole truth. My experience is, my first experience here today in the City Hall has been extremely pleasant, and I'm thrilled that the way this proceeding is proceeding. And I must say, Ms. Linda Lockwood, she really epitomizes what America is all about. The welcome she has given to both our communities was just heart-rending. And I must say that I'm proud to be an American today. So it's both an honor and it is an honor and a privilege for me to sit here today to address the Los Angeles City Council and talk about a long-cherished dream of mine come true. I'm Ishtiaq Chisti, past president of Bangladesh Association of Los Angeles. I still recall the day in 1969 as a 14-year-old when I chased the motorcade of Neil Armstrong and the other astronauts as they waved to the crowd when their motorcade slowly went down the streets of Dhaka, Bangladesh, following their triumphant journey to the moon and back. Right then, I knew that the U.S. would be my future home as a 14-year-old. However, I also look back. I cherish my Bangla culture, and I'm thrilled beyond words that the council decided to honor the contributions of my community to Los Angeles by naming a small portion of the city Little Bangladesh. And another significant thing about today is the first day of Ramadan. which is a strong cultural bond of the Bangladeshis. So this is very auspicious that the council is taking its decision on such a wonderful day.
The chairman, he's that smart.
You know, there are little Bangladeshis and little Bangla towns all over the world, and the most prominent being in London. And if you ever go to East London, you will see it over there. And it's called Brick Lane. And so enjoy that, and I think we can all trade stories and learn from each other. And over here, right, in Los Angeles, there are tons and I should say numerous designations such as Chinatown, which started probably the first, and then we have Little Thailand, Little Saigon in Orange County, Little Ethiopia in LA, and of course, Koreatown. It is high time that the Bangladeshis got a little country as well, and I thank you very much for making it happen.
Thank you, sir.
I also want to take the opportunity to thank numerous members of the Bangladeshi community whose hard work in the last 18 months made this historic initiative possible. And in particular, Mr. Akhtar Mia for submitting the application to the City Hall. If you don't do the paperwork in the Western world, nothing ever gets done. And of course, Mr. Mujib Siddiqui for reaching out. That is a very Bengali trait, to reach out to your neighbors. We come from a country where we are surrounded by neighbors who don't not necessarily all get along. And we Bangladeshis try to work together with the other communities. And so I must say Mujib really worked very hard to reach out and work with the Central American community and of course the Korean community for a harmonious resolution of the matter. But nothing excites Bangladeshis more than politics. And in terms of reaching out to Councilman Labange, I must thank Mr. Shamim for making that happen. So it was a three-pronged attack, and it worked. So thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Abul Khair, followed by Dr. M.A. Hashim.
As an interpreter, Your Honor.
আমি এই সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ দিচ্ছি।
I thank everybody.
আমার মনে হচ্ছে ইনশাআল্লাহ আমরা লিটল বাংলাদেশ পেয়ে গেছি।
I believe we already got Little Bangladesh.
আর আমার সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হলো আমি 18 বছর লিটল বাংলাদেশেই আছি।
I have been living in this Little Bangladesh for last 18 years.
এই লিটল বাংলাদেশে আমার 3 জন গ্র্যান্ডসন, একজন গ্র্যান্ডডটার হয়েছে।
I had the blessing of 3 daughters and a grandchild in this little Bangladesh area.
আমার মেয়ে, ছোট মেয়ে মেডিকেলে পড়তেছে, আমি খুব খুশি।
And my youngest daughter is going to the medical school. I am very happy for the day.
বড় মেয়ে স্কুল টিচার।
My oldest daughter is a school teacher.
মেজো মেয়ে ফার্মাসিস্ট।
And the middle one is a pharmacist.
আর আমি একজন বাংলাদেশ ফ্রিডম ফাইটারের পক্ষ থেকে মুক্তিযোদ্ধা সংসদ থেকে আমি আসছি কিছু বলার জন্য।
And I came here as a member of the Bangladesh freedom fighters who liberated the country to say something here.
আমি ফ্রিডম ফাইটার ছিলাম।
I was a freedom fighter.
আমি হোটেল ইন্টারকন্টিনেন্টালে 27 ইয়ার্স কাম করেছি।
I have worked for the Hotel Intercontinental for 27 years.
লাস্ট ইন্টারকন্টিনেন্টাল আমার ডাউনটাউন।
My last job was in downtown here, Continental.
এখন আমি ডিসেবল।
Now I am disabled.
আমি আমেরিকা আমাকে থাকতে দিয়েছে, খেতে দিয়েছে।
America,
বাংলাদেশ দিয়েছে, আমি সবচেয়ে খুশি।
I'm very, very glad that little America has given me the place to live and make a living and educate my children. And we got also Little Bangladesh. I'm very happy. Thank you. I have one more point.
Mr. Tom Levelকে আমাদের বাংলাদেশ থেকে শুরু করে লস অ্যাঞ্জেলস কমিউনিটি আমার মানে শতকরা 90% এখন ওনাকে চিনছে টিভিতে মিডিয়াতে।
One more point that I want to say is Tom Labange, Honorable Tom Labange is known by entire Bangladeshi people back home and all who here lives here.
টিভি মিডিয়াতে দেখেছি।
Through TV media.
আর আমি আর দুইজনকে ধন্যবাদ দিই যার সহযোগিতা আমি পেয়েছি। মমিনুল হক বাচ্চু।
And I thank him, and also I thank two other people. One is Mominul Haq Bachu,
আর একজন নঈম হাবিব
and the other one is Naeem Habib.
আমার ফ্যামিলি আসা থেকে শুরু করে আমাকে এই পর্যন্ত হেল্প করছে
Ever since my family came here, they helped me rehabilitate in this country.
এবং বাংলাদেশ হওয়ার জন্য লিটল বাংলাদেশের জন্য তারা হেল্প আইজও করে যাচ্ছে
And still they are working in making Little Bangladesh here in this community.
আমি আবারও আমেরিকার মঙ্গল কামনা করে
And God bless America. That's what I wish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Hashem, followed by Maminul Haq Bachu.
Honorable Chair and Council Member Mr. Tom Lavins and distinguished guests and the community peoples. I'm pretty much happy to hear today there is a happy ending today. These two projects, great project, Little Bangladesh and Koreatown. I believe that most of the credit goes to Mr. Tom Lavins. The way he was working with the two communities, it is remarkable. And also Nikki Azhari, she has been doing a fantastic job for these two communities. And I am delighted to hear today from the Korean community leaders, Mr. Chang Lee, that the whole Korea community is supported the Little Bangladesh project. We are very much thankful to Mr. Lee and the Korean community, and also I thankful to the other Latino community also supported us today. You know, why you are asking for the Little Bangladesh in this area? Because there is a historical reason. The Bangladeshi people, I think my time is over?
No, go ahead and finish your thoughts.
The Bangladeshi people start coming over in this area in 1990. From 1990 to 2010, these 20 years, if you look for the ratio of the growth of the population, you will see from 1990 to today is 50,000 people are living around the Southern California. And if you see around this 3-mile radius of Little Bangladesh project now, around 20,000 people are living there. These are the very hard-working people. They have a very respectful to the other community peoples, especially the Korean peoples and the Latino peoples. Our result shows that we are a very hard community peoples, and we have a 0 crime ratio in this area. We don't have any record of the criminals. We don't have any records of the crime. So we can delightfully announce that we are a 0 crimes population, this community. And also our kids are going to the school, they are doing the good results. And our community kids, they have a 0% drop down from the schools and the college. So in that, the way the population is growing up, if it comes after the 2002, I believe that Bangladeshi American peoples will be the #1 majority community in that area surrounding the Little Bangladesh community. So we have a strong Bangladeshi cultural heritage of 1,500 years old. This cultural entity we have to spread towards our community peoples and also our next generation and also our other neighboring community peoples to mingle and then sharing with their community cultures with if we have a Little Bangladesh project in third area. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Tom Lavins and all other community members, including the Latino communities and the Korean community supporting us to have this happen today in the happy ending. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, very much. All right, next speaker is Maminul Haq Bachu, followed by Francisco Rivera.
Honorable Chairperson, Tom Lavin, and all of our city people, thank you very much. On behalf of Bangladesh community of Los Angeles, I am really happy because last 18 months, everybody worked so hard, even in Nikki, Tom Lavin, all Bangladeshi community people, Dr. Chang Lee, other Latino community, everybody worked together. And today I'm really happy because I go in person when the sign is collection, all the door to door I go and the collection, all the signature from Bangladesh people, each and every house for 850. I know I have pain on my leg last 1 week when I go to door to signature about the Little Bangladesh. Everybody really happy. 120 million people in Bangladesh, they know this news today. And I hope everything celebration, we invite our Tom Lavin and our chairperson, Eric Garcetti, all the city people, Nikki Azhari, and even in Bangladesh, I know if everybody work together, our Prime Minister, our Foreign Minister, and our Ambassador will be present that day. All the community, especially, I would like to thank you, Mr. Chang Lee. Really, he worked hard for this community, Bangladesh community. He helped all the time. And Latino community, Salvador, Mexico, Guatemala, we all are friends. Everybody learn each culture. And we are in little Bangladesh on 30th Street. There's all kind of the cultural people. We learn a lot of things from them. And thank you again to everybody to invite. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you. Our next speaker is Francisco Rivera, followed by Chang Lee.
Okay. My name is Francisco Rivera, President of the National Central American Roundtable. And Mr. Chairman, congratulations again, Council Member Tom LaBonge, and extensive, to Council Member Wesson and Mr. Eric Garcetti, the President of the Council. And congratulations, to the Bangladeshi community and the Korean American community. This is fantastic. The reason I wanted to speak on this particular issue because we have proposed, that we have one day that we will do a multi-ethnic celebration remembering this day between all these communities. And so we have proposed that, and it's part of the idea, and so the council members will be invited. So every year, either today with this day or the day that the city council approved the motion, then we will be having that celebration. We have to agree on that issue, but again, this is fiesta time. Thank you.
Well, maybe let's use both days. Use both days. Any excuse for
I know. We got to make sure it's fiesta time, but we got to remember Ramadan, which is a very solemn holiday.
Okay. Yeah.
So we got to do it beyond that because you and I will be eating and they won't.
We don't want. Yeah.
Oh, okay then.
We don't want to have it during a fast
I should
day.
recognize it. That yes, that is Ramadan. I am aware of that. Thank you. Good.
Exactly. Thank you. All right, and our final speaker on the matter, our final speaker is Mr. Chang Lee.
I'm good.
Really? Okay, all right. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to read out the boundaries, and I want to make sure that the record is clear about the boundaries. So I'm going to read out the boundaries as part of the recommendation of the chair. And I also want to take a moment. At our last meeting, we did ask for reports back from a number of city departments about implementation, and we don't yet have those reports back. So I want to again reiterate how important it is that our city departments come together immediately to provide the implementation of the agreement that's been hammered out with great effort by these communities, and our city departments are going to need to effectuate this at the earliest possible time. So it will be the recommendation that this committee recommend to the council to approve the community renaming with the stated boundaries for Koreatown as follows. The southern boundary is Olympic Boulevard from Western Avenue to Vermont Avenue. The eastern boundary is Vermont Avenue from Olympic Boulevard to 3rd Street. The northern boundary is 3rd Street from Vermont Avenue to Western Avenue. The western boundary is Western Avenue from 3rd Street to Olympic Boulevard, including a business corridor along Western Avenue from 3rd Street to Rosewood Avenue, situated inside the East Hollywood area. All of those boundaries would include both sides of the street, and it will further be the recommendation of the chair that the existing Wilshire Center be retained as is. So that will be the recommendation of the chair on item number 1. On item number 2, for Little Bangladesh, the boundaries would be as follows. One linear street corridor on 3rd Street between New Hampshire and Alexandria Street will be renamed Little Bangladesh.
Mr. Chair, thank you for your work. I'm going to continue on my day, but great job there, and I look forward to working with other communities to help inspire their communities. As will always be your goal as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Thank you, everyone. And as people are
Meeting's not adjourned.
as people are exiting, we do have one more item of business. So if you could just keep down the celebration just a little bit until you get outside the door, so we can finish this up. Thank you. That brings us to item 3 on the agenda.
Item number
Wow.
3 is consideration of an application to name a community Sycamore Square.
And so on this matter, Mr. Powell, you've already gone over the process for community renaming. Is it staff's opinion, the CLA's opinion, that those prerequisites have been met with regard to the renaming of Sycamore Square?
Yes. The application that was submitted for the naming of Sycamore Square complies with the city community naming policy.
Thank you very much. And Nikki, if you'd like to come forward and just present the position of CD4 on this, please.
Yes, the application is fine and no controversy there.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public speakers on item number 3? I have no cards, so with that, then it will be the recommendation of the chair to approve the community renaming of Sycamore Square, which will be located north of Wilshire Boulevard, south of Olympic Boulevard, east of Citrus Avenue, and west of La Brea Avenue. And once again, I want to recommend that the city departments that will be necessary to implement this effectuate that renaming, both of Koreatown, Little Bangladesh, and Sycamore Square at the earliest possible time, including the installation of appropriate signs. That will be the recommendation of the committee, and that brings us to general public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to provide general public comment on an item not on the agenda, I have no cards yet. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.